News Radio 840 WHAS. Good Sunday morning. Coming up on today's Louisville Real Estate Show, what happens if you're buying a house and the appraisal comes in low? Also, two liens and a lawsuit on a home. Should you still buy it? And yes, believe it or not, the Zillow paint color that can sell your house for $6,000 more just by doing this one paint color. That's all coming up on today's show. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Sokoler, and welcome to the Louisville Real Estate Show. We're glad you're joining us. We're on till the top of the hour. And with us today, Randy Rocky, who is the head guy, one of the head guys at Swan Financial. They do a great job of getting you pre-approved and to the closing table. And you can reach Randy at 645-0736. Also here, our dear friend Lee Harris, legal counsel, Limestone Title and Escrow LLC. And you can reach Lee directly on her cell phone. And realtors make note, she is available for all of us. If you have a legal question, 649-7964 is her direct cell phone number. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the near future, I would love to help you. Just give me a call and I'll come out. We'll discuss what the process is, maybe do some staging, maybe some suggestions. If you don't need anything at all, I'll let you know. And then we'll look at prices on the computer. You can reach me free, no obligation on my cell phone, 376-5483, or go to bobsellslouisville.com. A reminder, this show with video included is available for you to see at any time. You can go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's LouisvilleAnswers.com. And we will, in fact, be there waiting for you to watch this show. So we start with Lee Harris over at Limestone. This email came in from Megan. She says, I've read horror stories about buying a home with a renter still in it. Now, the listing that she's looking at says the renter has been notified that they must vacate by June 30th, but the renter says they would prefer to stay, and if the buyer is okay with that, the renter would stay. Now, Megan is saying that we aren't okay with that. The house is listed at $150,000 and well below our budget, but the backyard's perfect for the daughter. It's already fenced in. It looks new, so she's wants to buy it. She's guessing, though, what happens if the offer is accepted? What happens to the renter? What should they put in the contract to protect her that the renter leaves? Lee, it's a good question for anybody thinking of buying a house that has a renter in it.
All good questions. Yes. Okay. So Megan, the first thing is you need to ask the seller if the lease is still a valid written lease and has not expired. If it has, it's a month-to-month lease, meaning that you could give 30 days notice, or the seller could give 30 days notice for the tenant to vacate. That 30 days notice has to come before the first of the month. It can't be that you close on the 12th and you send them something to leave on the 12th of the next month. It has to be before the next rent is due. So if it's still a valid lease, then they get to take the property subject to that lease. However, if it's not, then you can send that notice, or the seller can, and then after 30 days, they have to vacate. Of course, if they don't, then they will have to be evicted. Eviction takes about 2 or 3 months in Jefferson County, if that's where you are, to get a court date, to get a set out date, all of that. It takes about 2 to 3 months. In your contract, you could put that the seller must provide you a copy of the lease, and the seller must provide a notice to the tenant to vacate prior to the next month, which would be June 1st.
Which
So,
this is June 2nd already. Now you're going to have to be into the end of July if by chance it hasn't been given. The notice hasn't been given, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Yep.
So what if I guess on the lender side, it's crazy. I don't recall ever having this happen, but let's say they say, hey, we're going to move out, but then they decide not to move out. We're about ready to close. I would assume then they're going to have to do a set out, and then it would move the closing date back. Would you agree with that? Because you're supposed to take possession of the property, and also, man, it gets really tricky. I mean, this is a sticky subject, but what have you seen in the past, Lee, if they didn't actually move when they were supposed to, the tenant?
Yeah, if you have a loan that says you're supposed to take possession of the property, then obviously the buyer has some responsibilities there to move into the property because they've said to their lender that they're going to be
Right.
owner occupied. So if they're not, then I haven't seen any issues with the lenders, but certainly the buyer or the seller, whoever is in charge at that time, needs to send that notice so that they will be evicted, because otherwise, if they don't move and they stay, then the buyer will be in violation of their loan terms.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a sticky wicket, but it's a good question, Megan. We wish you the very best on that. Just go with your eyes open. And legal advice is always available through Lee if you need her. All right, we move over to Randy Rocky, Swan Financial. Amanda wrote us this email. She says, I'm heartbroken. House is packed, movers booked, boxes checked. We found the perfect home. Everything was ready. Contract price, $260,000. We just received the appraisal. Randy, $230,000. The appraiser put down some incorrect names instead of ours, did not include one full bathroom, labeled the basement as 60% complete, even though it's fully finished. And Amanda says she's devastated. She says, after months of trying and rejected offers, we were so close to having our dream home. What do I do now? All right, Amanda, let's go to Randy and pull that microphone closer to you because it sounds like you're echoing. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
What did we do?
Is that better?
Yeah, better.
Okay. So a couple things. Number one is if you can find comps that show that it should be at 260, then you turn those in to the appraiser and hopefully they will change. If they do not change it, there's really two options. Number one, it's a combination of three. Mm-hmm. So either number one, the seller drops their price to 230. Number two, they drop it maybe to 245, and the buyer is responsible for another 240 for another $15,000 at closing, or they keep it at the 260, and the buyer is responsible for another $30,000 to bring to the closing table.
Yeah, and if the buyer can't do that, so it falls apart. There is another option, and we've talked about this. This is thinking out of the box. So, Amanda, you're going to need the approval. First, I would go through what Randy said. Ask what the seller is willing to do to drop the price to meet the appraised price. But if the seller says, no, I'm sticking with it, then the option is, well, will you give me an extension to get another application into another loan company, right?
Loan company, yes, and get another appraisal done. So if it's FHA, you can't.
Right.
So you have 6 months at that appraisal price.
If it's FHA. If
it is conventional, right? If it's conventional,
and can't. VA, same thing. VA, the appraisal doesn't stick, right, with the house.
That is correct.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and I feel for you. But there are a couple of options. Don't give up yet. And if your realtor should be able to find some comps that support the 260. The other thing is, you could ask your realtor to go back to the listing realtor, the agent who's listed the house, and ask them where they got their comps to come up with a $260,000 price. That could be a clue as to which way to go. Sometimes the appraisers will not listen to realtors or even other appraisers. So it's a crapshoot. But the final deal is you got to go to another loan company and have them, you'll have to make payment for a new application and another appraisal. But if you really want the house, and you think it's worth that money, you go forward that way. We've seen that happen. A reminder, if you'd like to see what real estate agents look for when they are listing their home and your home, they look at our website, Louisville3D.com. It's a kind of a hodgepodge of videos and 3D tours that we do. So take a look and see what we do, and you'll see what other agents look at. Louisville3D.com. Back to the questions we go. Over to Lee Harris at Limestone Title and Escrow. Matthew, looking for some guidance in this email, but by the way, you can send me an email with your questions, bob@wesellouisville.com. He says, I am 10 days away from closing on a house. My loan officer just informed me that there are 2 liens and a lawsuit against the house he's going to buy. Holy smokes on this, Lee. He says, at this point, I really don't know the nature of any of these. And my question is, how serious is this? Does this constitute a reason to walk away from the deal? And generally, what should I do from here, Lee?
Oh, that's a great question, Matthew. So whenever you buy a house, whoever is closing that house will run a title search. And they will see if there's any liens any lawsuits, any lis pendens, which is a lawsuit pending. And the title company's job or the closing attorney's job is to clear those liens. So if those liens and that lawsuit can be cleared and will no longer attach to your property, then you can buy it smooth sailing. If for some reason they cannot be cleared or they cannot be paid off by the proceeds, or if this lawsuit cannot be dismissed based upon the closing, maybe the seller has to pay off something, with the closing proceeds to the person who's filed the lawsuit, then you might not get clear title. And if you don't get clear title, it's not going to close. So the closing agent, the closing attorney will tell you, we can't close, because in order to close a property, you have to have clear title, meaning no liens, no judgments, no lis pendens, no lawsuits filed against that property. So it's not a lost cause. We clear liens all the time, and it could be that there's enough money in the proceeds to pay off whoever's asking for something related to this property. And if so, you're good to go. If not, then your contract will probably fail unless the seller can cure that with their own money.
Okay, good luck on that. And we're going to head back over to Randy in a second. First, a personal request. I normally don't do this, but I am today. Many of you may have heard I'm getting married July 11th. We are looking for a condo for my future mother-in-law to buy in Norton Commons. Yep. It needs to be a first floor entry directly into the condo, new or resale. We don't see any new. So if you're thinking of selling, or you know someone who's thinking of selling a condo in Norton Commons, my future mother-in-law, Betty, is looking for a condo in Norton. Her dream has always been to live in Norton Commons. And I'm buying a house in Norton Commons, so she wants to be near us, and I love that. You can reach me on my cell phone, 376-5483. All right. One question, Randy, and then we're going to go for a break. Tyler says in this email, I'm planning to buy a house soon. My total savings right now, $220,000. Thinking about putting $200,000 down payment for a $1 million house. Is that too much? Should I aim for a cheaper house or wait a bit before purchasing? What do you think, Randy, on that one?
I don't think it's too much or too little. I think it's up to the individual, and it's something that I could discuss with them. And it really depends on your debt to income ratio. So it might not be too much, and it might fit his budget very well. So that is something that really we just have to go through all the numbers. What debt do you have? How much income do you have? Is it going to be stable? Are you self-employed, not self-employed? There's all kinds of different things that we go into factors on that. So that's what I would have to do, is go through that with them.
One word of caution, Tyler, from my standpoint, if your savings is $220,000 and you're pulling $200,000 out, that only leaves you with $20,000 in your savings account, and I would be worried about that. You need, I think, a bigger chunk of change as a back to fall back on. Am I right, Randy?
I don't disagree, but maybe it's just in his savings account. There's a lot of people that it's in their savings, and then they have, 100,000 in checking, they have 401ks, and they have a lot of other things. So, so sometimes people don't leave that much money in their savings because they just don't get usually a lot of interest on that.
True.
Yeah.
He didn't say that, but I'm just, if it's only 220,
if it's
you got to be careful.
Then no, absolutely not. That would not be a situation.
Not be good. All right, We're going to take a break. A reminder, you can see a brief broadcast of the show by going to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's LouisvilleAnswers.com. And when we come back from the break, the Zillow paint color that can sell your house for $6,000 more. True, that's what Zillow's saying. I'm going to read it to you.
I can't wait to hear it.
Neither can I. We're going to take a break. Continuing with us, Randy Rocky. He's one of the head guys at Swan Financial. They do a great job of getting you pre-approved for your loans. He's doing one right now for me, and they're doing a great job. You can reach Randy at 645-0736. Also, Lee Harris, legal counsel, Limestone Title and Escrow. They do a great job of getting you closed. Don't forget the cookies if you go over to Limestone. You can reach Lee on her cell phone, 649-7964. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future or buying a home, I would love, love, love to be able to help you. You can reach me anytime on my cell phone, and I'll come out free, no obligation. 376-5483 is my direct cell. That's 502 area code. Or go to bobsellslouisville.com, fill out the information, press submit, and I will get back to you. We're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show. We continue with you to the top of the hour, and continuing with us, Lee Harris, who's legal counsel over at Limestone Title and Escrow. They do a great job getting your loan closed. Great people. You can reach Lee for legal counsel or anything else regarding law. And if she doesn't know it, she'll tell you who to talk to. And her direct cell is 649-7964. Randy Rocky continuing with us, Swan Financial. He's a great guy. They do a great job getting your loan pre-approved and to the closing table. And you can reach Randy at 645-0736. That's 645-0736. And if you are thinking of selling your home now or in the near future, folks, I would love to help you. Free, no obligation analysis. I'll come out. We'll take a look at what needs to be or not needs to be done. We'll also look at the comparables, prices in your neighborhood, and then come up with an estimate and a plan. Again, free, no obligation. Give me a call, 376-5483, or go to bobsellslouisville.com. All right, a report by Zillow looked at 135,000 photos from old houses across the country to see how paint colors impact sales. They found something interesting. Here it comes, folks. Homes with charcoal or smoky to jet black front doors sell on average, according to Zillow, don't kill the messenger, for $6,271 more than expected. Considering that a door paint job can cost approximately maybe $100 to $400. If you do it yourself, it might be even cheaper. A bucket of black paint, it's a stellar investment. In the study, Zillow also found that tuxedo kitchens, that's where the upper and lower cabinets are two different colors, also sell for more money as well. It may be worth it to stage your home with a few of those features. The paint colors do matter. All right, we move on. I thought that was a fascinating story. Just amazing. All right.
Talking about a black or charcoal door?
Yeah, front door. That's it. Now, I would also then, if
okay.
you're going to do a black door, if you have shutters, I paint the shutters black as well to match, but that they didn't mention that.
I debated really hard about what color to paint my front door. So
what did you paint it?
Kind of a gray.
Okay, that might work. It could work.
Yeah.
All right, this question for you, Lee Harris over at Limestone. Sissy sent us this email that she is being evicted. Apparently, she paid the owner of the house cash for 6 months' rent. There was a handshake agreement, and there was no paperwork generated. Now the heirs to the estate want her out. She's wondering, what can she do? Handshake deal.
Okay. So I'm sorry about this situation. If you are still within the 6 months that you have paid for by cash, then you should go to the district court and let them know that you have paid this. Try to provide some proof, bank statement, something that you can find that says you paid cash for 6 months. If you're beyond that term, then you're on a month-to-month lease, and the heirs can sell the property or take over the property and give you a 30-day notice. But if you have paid and they're trying to get you out within your 6 month time frame, then you certainly have the jurisdiction of the court to help you. And you should call a good eviction attorney. They will help you. No one can kick you out if you can show that you've paid. You
got to show that you paid. That's the key on this whole thing. Yeah. Right. And cash doesn't necessarily bode of having a trail behind it. So gotcha. I wish you the best. A reminder, we have answers to hundreds of your questions and interesting videos that we have produced about real estate over the years. Go to LouisvilleHomeVideo.com. That's LouisvilleHomeVideo.com. All right, back over to Randy Rocky in Swan Financial. Emily says in this email, I'm in the process of trying to buy my first home. Congratulations, Emily. But I'm getting confused and frustrated. You ready, Randy? She was recommended by a realtor to use a specific lender, talked about using a USDA loan since they don't have to do work with a down payment. The lender said they qualify for about $250,000 for the loan. She submitted all the paperwork, documentation. My lender asked me for a few weeks, and then he says the ratios look good, but we may need to save more for closing costs. Emily said, "Whoa, wait a second. I was told that the closing costs can be rolled into the mortgage or with the USDA, and we'll end up paying more if we roll it into the mortgage, but it would work." but I won't need the cash up front. The lender says that that's not possible to roll it in, but the seller can contribute to cover the closing costs. And she's confused, conflicting information. What's your opinion on that, Randy?
That is correct. On USDA, you would need, if you do not want to bring any money to the closing table, you would need somewhere around 3% from the seller. So on a $250,000 deal, you would need somewhere in the range of 7,500 from the seller to help pay for closing costs and setting up escrow. If not, then then whatever the amount that she doesn't get to help with the closing costs, you would have to bring to the closing table.
So a suggestion here, Emily, Randy, Lee, hear what I'm about to say and give me a yes or a no on this thing. You mentioned you would pay the closing cost by rolling it into the mortgage, and the lender is not going to let that happen. But you have your agent contact the seller's agent. The seller's agent talks to the seller, and basically they say, okay, let's say the price of the house is $200,000. Now what you do is you say, look, can we raise the price to 200,000,
206,000.
200. Sorry, I'll use that. 206,000.
Yes, that would be what it'd be. Yes.
You raise it to 206,000, and then pay 6,000 of my closing costs.
Right.
Right.
And what I do, Bob, is I call the agent and go, hey, look, they're just trying to cover their closing costs in this scenario, so they don't have to bring it to the closing table. I call the listing agent, and usually that works. Not always, but usually, if there's not multiple offers and all the above.
Yeah. It serves the same purpose. You're rolling in the closing costs.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Nothing illegal about it.
Right. No, nothing at all.
No, as long as the contract and the HUD statement show what the actual monies that were exchanged, there's no problem with that.
Yep.
And also the appraiser also has to obviously appraise for 206,000 in that situation.
Right. That's the only caveat.
Yes.
If it doesn't appraise for the 206, then you got a problem.
Right.
Everybody goes back to square one. But
right, that is correct.
Yeah, hopefully that it will. A reminder for everybody, if you want to see what people are saying about our Sokoler team, I'm proud of reviews, go to LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. That's LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. Back over to Lee Harris over at Limestone Title. Kathy lives in a mobile home park. She sent us an email with a serious problem. The mobile home park is not going to renew their lease. She writes in this email that back on apparently New Year's Eve, her husband was trying to break up a fight with some residents. Those residents turned against Kathy and her husband and made reports to management that were just not true. She's wondering, what should she do? They're throwing her out of the mobile home park. Lee, recourse.
Okay. Kathy, if you have a written lease and it goes beyond whatever time they're trying to evict you, then you can have the rights that are outlined in that lease, which is that you're allowed to be there for a certain amount of time. If you're beyond your lease and you're on a month-to-month again, then under the Landlord Tenant Act that is established in Jefferson County, assuming you are, they can give you a 14-day notice and say you violated some rule, which I assume if they think this fight was a problem, they can say you can't have another fight, again, or we can evict you. So if it's not a non-payment of rent issue, then you really do have a good case. They're supposed to send you a 14-day notice. They don't have any more fights. And then if you don't, then they really shouldn't be able to evict you from the mobile home park.
Good luck on that. It's going to be tough. And I guess your husband was trying to do the right thing, breaking things up, and then all of a sudden he gets pulled into the whole middle of this thing. A reminder, we have written reviews. We're very proud of our reviews. You can go to LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com to read some of those reviews. We go back over to Randy Rocky at Swan Financial. Kayla says in this email that we got, she's got an accepted offer on her new home last week and now preparing for inspection. The lender has been discussing the mortgage interest APR rates. They are coming in a bit higher than they thought. So they're buying a home. They are doing inspections. The lender is having a concern. Interest rates, or at least Kayla is, they're coming in higher. We plugged in all the info, down payment, loan, credit, all that stuff into the top 10 websites, and they're seeing as low as, and this is a couple of weeks old, Randy, 7.0 to 7.2% as an APR, and a few others 7.4, 7.5. Our lender is still the highest of all, the one that they're with. Is it too late to go to a different lender? Will it hurt if we change lenders? So let's give your MN whatever number, and then where are rates as of this week right now? Because I know they've come down.
Yes.
Yeah.
NMLS number 26362. If you want to pay a 2-point buy down there at 5.25%, 6.31 APR, 5.25 30-year fixed. So what she should do is, yes, you can go to another lender, not a problem. And understand when you go on the websites, a lot of times there are teaser rates that are not true. It's very difficult to get to that rate. I'm not saying you can't. So what I would suggest she does is, yes, go and shop it, and because it is really truly amazing right now how different all lenders are on pricing right now. It's crazy. Which is why I love being a broker. We find the best deal for you. So I mean, there are times when we're 1.5 different in interest rate, literally. So at this point in juncture of what's going on in this crazy rate market. So yes, that's what I would suggest you do is shop someone else.
Some caveats here, Kayla. So don't do anything until you get actual numbers. And are we still giving disclosures out from loan companies with what the APR will be in final numbers?
Oh yes, and a lot of times the unfortunate thing is, Bob, is that people fudge the taxes down because it's a tough market right now. So what they'll do is a lot of lenders will say, hey, the property tax on a $300,000 loan is only going to be $150 a month. Well, we know, as you well know, that's not possible. And then they're saying the homeowner's insurance is $75 when that's impossible. So they come in less than people trying to tell the person what actually their budget is going to be and where their payment's going to be. And it makes it very challenging at times to explain that to the consumer that, hey, here's why we're at where we're at and where they're at. And it's hard sometimes for them to decipher how to compare apples to apples.
And we should point out that in some cases, the more unscrupulous mortgage companies will then later say, oh, well, we figured low on taxes or we figured low on insurance as an excuse for not having given them the full numbers when you first made application. So, Kayla, the takeaway for you and for everyone else is if you're going to shop the loan, make sure you get numbers. Have your real estate agent or someone you trust do a comparison side by side if there are any junk fees or any low taxes or insurance numbers that support you to stay with the location that you're with, the company that you're with. And the final thing on this, if you make the decision that you're going to switch, you need to make sure that not only does your buyer agent know, but the buyer agent tells the seller agent and the seller agent tells the seller that everyone is in agreement that you are making this switch, and there should be some addendum, right, Lee? Something written up that buyer and seller agree that they're changing loan company, so everyone's on the same page.
Yes. That is a portion of the contract on the top of page 2. It says who the lender is, so if it changes, that needs to be addressed with both parties. Yes.
Yeah, many times it doesn't, and that creates a bigger problem than you might think about. So we are out of time. My thanks to Lee Harris, who's legal counsel over at Limestone Title and Escrow, and you can reach them to get your loan closed and a variety of other things. And you can call Lee 649-7964 directly on her cell phone. Also, Randy Rocky, Swan Financial, 645-0736. They do a great job of getting you to the closing table. And again, they're working a loan for me. I'm hoping to close in the next week or two, and I'm ready to go, and so are they. So I appreciate that on my side. Also, my regards to all of you who are thinking maybe about selling your home as interest rates start to slowly come down. This might be the time to at least reach out to me. Let's talk about what the process is, what the prices might be on your home, because it could be a lot more than you think. You can reach me on my cell phone, 376-5483, or go to bobsellslouisville.com. Coming up on next week's show, how to get rid of mold possibly hiding in your home. That's it for now. We'll see you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.